Short story 128, The Interview, Chapter 5. The train rattled and swayed through the night, carrying them deeper into the unknown. Exhaustion gnawed at Maya, but sleep was a luxury they couldn't afford. Mr. Blackwood, ever the pragmatist, began rummaging through the train's dusty compartments. "Supplies," he muttered, emerging with several cans of food and a dented metal flask. "Not gourmet, but it'll have to do." Maya, her stomach growling in agreement, took a hesitant sip from the flask. It burned going down, but it also brought a much-needed jolt of warmth. As they ate, Mr. Blackwood explained his plan. "This train," he said, his voice raspy, "used to be part of a long-abandoned logging route. It likely leads to a remote lumber town somewhere north. We can find help there, maybe even contact the authorities." It wasn't an ideal solution, but it was a plan. Maya, still shaken from the ordeal, nodded numbly. Edgar, ever vigilant, remained at the window, his eyes scanning the darkness outside. Hours bled into one another. The sun peeked through the dense forest canopy, casting an ethereal glow on the dusty interior. Suddenly, Edgar straightened, a low growl emanating from his throat. Maya followed his gaze to see a plume of smoke rising in the distance. "A town?" Maya asked, a flicker of hope igniting in her chest. Mr. Blackwood squinted. "It's possible. Let's be cautious, though. We don't know who might be waiting for us." As the train rounded a bend, the town came into view. It was small, a cluster of weathered buildings huddled around a single main street. A sense of relief washed over Maya, so strong it made her head spin. The train screeched to a halt in the middle of the deserted street, sending a flock of startled crows scattering. They emerged cautiously, the manuscript clutched tightly in Mr. Blackwood's hand. The town seemed eerily quiet, devoid of any sign of life. "This is strange," Mr. Blackwood muttered, his brow furrowed. "Where is everyone?" Suddenly a voice echoed from behind a boarded-up storefront. "Strangers, are you?" A weathered-looking woman with a wary glint in her eyes stepped out. Maya explained their situation in a rush, omitting the details about the kidnapping to avoid raising suspicions. The woman listened patiently, her lips pursed in a thin line. "There ain't much help we can offer here," she finally said, her voice rough. "This town is practically deserted. The logging company shut down years ago, and most folks moved on." Disappointment clawed at Maya, but before she could despair, the woman offered a glimmer of hope. "There's an old radio transmitter up on Miner's Peak. Might be able to send a distress signal, if it still works." Miner's Peak loomed in the distance, a rugged mountain overlooking the town. It seemed like their only shot at contacting the outside world. With a surge of renewed determination, Maya and her companion set off, the weight of the manuscript a constant reminder of the truth they carried. Their trek up the mountain was arduous, the path overgrown and treacherous. Yet they persevered, fueled by the desperate need for help. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the summit. The old radio transmitter stood there, a decrepit monument to a bygone era. Mr. Blackwood, surprisingly tech-savvy, fiddled with the dusty knobs and dials. With a crackle of static, the transmitter sputtered to life. Hope flared in Maya's chest. Now all they had to do was get the message out. As Mr. Blackwood began to speak into the microphone, a chilling voice shattered the silence. "Well, well, well," Lucas sneered, standing at the foot of the transmitter, a menacing glint in his eyes. "Look who decided to join the party." To be continued. Vocabulary notes. Whipped, moved or blown violently, e.g. branches whipped at her face, tearing at her clothes. Bone jarring, so strong or sudden that it hurts your bones, Example, she landed with a bone-jarring thud on the soft earth of the forest floor. Adrenaline, a hormone that prepares the body for action in a stressful situation. Example, adrenaline fueled her steps as she limped deeper into the woods. Defiant, refusal to obey someone or something. A defiant glint in his eyes. Cornered, trapped with no way to escape. Example, Mr. Blackwood and Edgar were cornered, facing a grim fate. Story written by Google Bard AI. Image created by Desgo.com AI.